Hey, Ben.
It's working.
Awesome.
This is great.
Can you hear
Yeah, I
okay?
can. How about me as well? Perfect.
Perfect.
This is sweet. This is
Yeah.
so fast and simple. I've never done one of these. This is good experience so far.
Yeah, it's we did one the other day where I think we ran into all the technical difficulties, so now we got that sorted out and much smoother now.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually listened to a lot of your interviews today. Like I binged uh,
Oh,
three
really?
or four, so that was nice. Yeah, I kind of feel like I've
Ah,
heard your voice, but I know mine's probably
oh
new
man.
to you.
No, no, no. I've checked out your YouTube videos and I've been following you for not quite 2 years, but just about.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome.
so I've really been looking. I've actually wanted to do something like this.
Hey,
Hey, Ben.
it's working.
Awesome.
This is great.
Can you hear
Yeah, I
okay?
can. How about me as well? Perfect.
Perfect.
This is sweet. This is
Yeah.
so fast and simple. I've never done one of these. This is good experience so far.
Yeah, it's we did one the other day where I think we ran into all the technical difficulties, so now we got that sorted out and much smoother now.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually listened to a lot of your interviews today. Like I binged uh,
Oh,
three
really?
or four, so that was nice. Yeah, I kind of feel like I've
Ah,
heard your voice, but I know mine's probably
oh
new
man.
to you.
No, no, no. I've checked out your YouTube videos and I've been following you for not quite 2 years, but just about.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome.
so I've really been looking. I've actually wanted to do something like this for a while, and I've kind of been working up the nerve. So I really appreciate you agreeing to do this and give it a shot. Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. I think it's a great use of your time, and I just want to ask how are you doing? Like, are you? I read like one post of why you're in bed, but like how are you doing with that?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm glad you saw that because I didn't want you to think I was like some lazy guy just like hanging out in bed.
Yeah.
But yesterday was every day the doctors ask me to rate pain level from 1 being everything's great to 10 being like the worst pain,
Mhm.
right? Yesterday was an 8, which is rough, and then today is probably a 7, so still up there, but not as
Yeah.
bad.
Oh man, that's rough. Those are rough days. I mean, I've never
Yeah.
probably experienced physical pain like that, but even just when you're sick, like my wife and I just came back from New York, and we had like a week of just like sickness, and just like even that, it's like I'm sitting in bed, just my head spinning, and I'm like, am I ever gonna like create anything good again, or like get back to where I was? Like it's hard to,
Yeah.
but yeah,
It wears on you fast.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, Yeah, thank you. Do you mind? I think probably everyone's going to know who you are. Is that insulting to ask if you just introduce
Oh yeah.
yourself and what you do, where you're
No,
from?
yeah. I live right now in Greenville, South Carolina, and I am a graphic novelist. So I write and draw all the pictures, um, and color as well, and a few more other of the
Yeah.
granular jobs involved with that. But and I also do illustration for the various like publication, some kids books that I have done in the past that are on like a cat. No worry that you can find the I list, but that's kind of a residual job that just kind of keeps going, and I don't really have to promote that much. And it's less
Yeah.
of what I do now. I'm very much more like focused on comics, um, and really excited about it. Everything I get to do now, but um, yeah, is it? There's probably
Yeah,
more that I could say.
that's perfect.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I know. I was like even just scrolling through your page, your Instagram page, and then going to your website and reading the about and your clients. It's like, I mean, we could do the whole visit just talking about like everything you've done. Really impressive.
Oh,
Really cool to see
oh, that's so
everything you've
nice to
done.
hear. My client list. I like haven't seen that in a long time, and it took a while to get to like have clients that were like I could say their name and people wouldn't be like, never heard of them. Like, but
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
uh, those I think the clients there are not are very much like kind of like feathers in the cap that didn't stay around too long. Like they're kind of the ones that I list, but it's very like minimal amount of work that I've done there. So
I think that's usually how it goes with like the bigger clients. Otherwise, you end up like working for them, and then all your stuff is just like it doesn't exist
yeah,
anymore.
that's what I mean. Yeah,
So I think that's a good thing because that's one thing that's hard for me to see is when really good storytellers that have their own stories to tell just give it up to just to take on a paying job, which can be really noble, but also no one else is going to make their stories.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of a
Yeah.
gamble whenever you're doing like your own project that you've like written and pitched and doing art and everything. Like it's a real gamble. Like, and I'm hoping like
Yeah.
it'll pay out in the end. But um, yeah, it's it's no shame from me. Like if anyone needs to go to a studio job or take on work, or it's
Yeah.
like yeah, I'm benefited by like just like so many people. Like my wife for one, like she's a great illustrator and brand designer as well. So it's like we both
Mm.
got shared income, and it's like I'm not. I'm pretty transparent about what like you know my job is doing that because I think there's like well everyone's different, and so I haven't really heard a whole lot of people
Yeah.
say that, and I feel like that is adding to the conversation of like um, of how to survive while doing comics, um, and yeah, it's just
Mm.
super been very very helpful to like have a wife that understands and like is not only understands but is supportive and just
Yeah.
really really inspirational too for a lot of the things in my comics and stuff.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I mean, I'm in a similar situation with my wife, and um, yeah, it just makes all the difference. Hey, do you mind? You shared a post about it. I don't want you to say obviously anything you're uncomfortable
Oh
with,
boy.
but Bill
Oh yeah.
Brighton. Can you say something about
Yeah,
Bill
I'll say
Brighton?
something about um, I will say that um, it's the biggest thing that I will have ever done,
Whoops.
and it's the biggest thing I'm like chewing on right now. So there's a limited amount of things I can say about it because I'm still writing it, and it is going to
Sure.
be a
Yeah.
series, and right now it's going to be three
Cool.
books. And I'm currently writing them. And I finished the first draft, or well, second draft of the first book, writing the second, and I'm planning on writing them all and then drawing them. Um, uh, Still there?
Oh, it froze up. There we go.
Yeah.
You're getting tons of hearts, by the way. Everyone loved that image and hearing about this. This is great.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, I see it. I'm looking through like a transparent wall of like a lot of people joining. And is there any way of like, it's cool. I'll run with it. But I'm like it's like a HUD on a military first person shooter. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't know how to disable that or, yeah.
it's okay. I see my sister-in-law and some friends in there, and fun. This is so fun.
Say something embarrassing.
Yeah. Don't put me on a spot. I might actually do that or try. And it would be embarrassing to like try to find an embarrassing thing to say. But yeah, Bill Brighton, I'm still writing it, and I'm also doing a lot of character designs as well. And I've got like
Cool.
I call them my kind of paper dolls. Like I draw them and then like color them in Photoshop and then print them out. And kind of like a little bit of expression sheets. These are a couple of the main characters. And I've got about like 40 unique character designs for like a lot of the main characters, but not all of those are main characters. But
Yeah.
I'm really trying to like, I don't know how pretentious this is going to sound, but I'm really trying to simulate a well done animated film in a comic book form. I love like all of the Studio Ghibli stuff. I'm a big fan of like Disney animation, Pixar, and I just kind of really love those. And I mean, I don't know, this is probably going to sound even more pretentious, but whenever I go read comics, I'm usually more disappointed than I am surprised with a lot of the comics. And that like, I totally understand how hard it is to make a comic. And I haven't even made a full one. So I'm kind of speaking from ignorance a little bit, but I do want like a well put together comic book for myself. So, you know, that's kind of what my vision for Bill Brighton is. Like one of those kind of, I want it to be evergreen, and like I really want it to be good. So I'm really trying my hardest to put as much work and thought into it, so that I don't regret like the result. But you know, we'll see in a year or two when it comes out how it worked.
I mean, that's just really refreshing for me to hear, at least, because it does seem like there are enough comics out there that it's just like the next thing the creator made, you know, like they got a style figured out and they just run with it, you know. And you've obviously worked through style like a considerable amount, and also your writing and just storytelling techniques, and the fact that it's obvious that you're pushing. And I think all of us that love your work, that's something that we love, and that we can sense, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I'm speaking for everyone, but
take the mic. No, that's really
on behalf of everybody.
Stop.
No, but that's refreshing, and it shows up in your work, and it pays off. You know, I was just revisiting the first issue of Joe Death. You know, it's been months since I first read it, and just seeing, you just get a sense that you're pushing forward, like you're not settling, and that's I want those stories. I'm glad you're doing the work.
Cool. Yeah. So that's so nice to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like most of what I say is aspirational, and then you know, someone will. Sorry, my dog is like whining. Willow, come. she like likes to sit on my lap, but sometimes hesitant. No. But yeah, like I feel like it's mostly aspirational. Like before I actually have the clout to like say I actually accomplish it. But I think that's fine. I think like
Yeah.
some I don't know. Yeah, I don't. I would never want to get somewhere and finish a project and like everyone's just like patting me on the back for like finishing it. Like I actually want their
Mm.
real honest feedback, and if it's good or if they were bored or if they were like I want them to tear it apart if it because it will help me. But
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, I'm rambling.
No, that's I mean, that's a storyteller right there. I love it. I want to ask you something that's probably way off topic, but just for a second, and then we can come back to comics and everything. Okay, so I saw on your website that uh, you shook hands with David
Yeah.
Hockney. I want to hear about that. I love David
Oh,
Hockney.
yeah.
A big splash, a bigger splash, just always experimenting and pushing boundaries and exploring. He's
Yeah.
great.
So the day I found out about David Hockney was the day I shook his hand. So
What?
I like
What?
total like noob with like modern art or like gallery art. Like I don't. That's totally my wife, and she's so knowledgeable. And we happened to be in New York. Or sorry, was it L.A. or San Francisco? We did this like kind of road trip from L.A. to up Highway 1 to San Francisco, and we were in L.A. and we were with a friend Sally Harrison, and she knew that David Hockney's new book, like his big, like huge retrospective book, um, like literally like weighs like probably half my weight. Like anyway, but it was put out by Taschen, the really nice like
Oh yeah,
publisher,
yeah, yeah.
and there was a gallery show, and so he basically it was a show for the book, but then they had a lot of the it was pretty cool. It was like a deconstructed book. They had like all the pages
Hmm.
from the book, and they're giant, so they had them all like posted on the wall all around the gallery, and it was nuts, like
Very cool.
seeing all that work and from like early on and all his progression, and I was just like blown away.
Hmm.
And then like this kind of like little guy, like very small guy, glasses and a hat, and like smoking, the only guy smoking in the gallery. And I was like, oh, you know, like by this point I'd seen all his pictures and knew that was probably him. And then and
Right.
it wasn't like super packed in there. I mean, he lives in LA, so it was sort of just like drop in. And yeah, we just
Huh.
got to talk to him a little bit, shake his hand, and ask about his like his two
Wow.
little dachshunds, or maybe more than two, but I think they passed on. But yeah, it was really cool,
Wow.
really cool.
That's amazing. That's so cool to hear. Um, do you? I was hoping you could say something about. Honestly, if there's something you want to talk about, go for it. Otherwise, I do have questions, and someone else asked something as well.
Yeah, I don't mind going back through and answering questions or like to the chat, like any just ask me or Jess any questions and we'll answer or we'll try to answer. But yeah, I don't have anything pertinent.
Okay.
Just want to hang out. Yeah.
I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Aquaridocs. I don't know. They said, should we? What themes would you like to explore with your work?
Yeah, I know this guy. He's one of my patrons on Patreon, and we've talked before.
Oh, cool.
Um,
Okay.
what themes? I think redemption, forgiveness, reconciliation between like enemies. Like that's a big one. Um, I mean, I think I try to like speak from my own experience from the most part, and like, like there was this moment that was so clear when I was in high school, or like maybe even like junior high or something. But I said some horrible things to my dad, and it was eating me up. And I just apologized to him at like after we had fought like later on that night, and I just was like it just felt incredible to just apologize for something wrong that I had done, and like I haven't cried like that much, and I wanna create things that do touch people, their kind of their soul or their heart, their emotions. Like, yeah, I think we're all that uh, in here, and like most people walk around. I mean, everyone. It's like unavoidable to walk around, to not walk around with a lot of facades, a lot of like um, stuff on, covering those emotions and those
Yeah.
very hard things, and we're all sort of managing our own pain or our own psychological pain or our own problems, and I want to somehow speak into that, to kids and adults, in that way.
That's, I mean, yeah, that's amazing. Like, how many comics do you read where you feel like it's meaningful, you know? You come away having learned something or felt something even, and I've kind of seen like you and I both share a love for Hellboy, Mike Mignola's
Yeah,
stuff. Um, and like those are so great at like just stirring up mystery and like just kind of these harboring of fears or regrets or different emotions, and then facing them, sometimes nobly and sometimes cowardly. uh yeah, I mean those are great topics to explore.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love his work. Like, like that was the comic that I like saw and like, I mean, was beyond impressed, but like it shaped a direction for me to go in that not a lot of comics, I feel like, even though it's been out for so long, I don't know that they're hitting
Yeah.
those things that he's like laid down in that comic. And yeah, I want to do something, with differences, but very much um, that that poetry, like that.
Yeah.
There's this really
Right.
old comic that I like compiled from these JPEGs that I found online. So I love Ray
Okay.
Bradbury and I love Mike Mignola. And this comic
Yeah.
that he did, I don't know if you've ever seen it, or anyone, I don't know if someone's seen it, but there's this comic in which he illustrated a comic of Bradbury's story. I think it's just called The City. And like, that is just like, I don't know. That's
Yeah.
I'll send it to you as a PDF. And anyone who wants to, if
Oh,
they
that'd
if
be
they want,
cool.
yeah, it's like gold.
I'd love
Yeah.
to see that.
But
Oh man.
yeah,
Christoph Blaine is another influence that I just kind of stumbled across his work a couple of years ago, and like I can't get enough. It reads like classic literature, um, and even just the images, like it's like you're looking at the events unfolding, and I get a similar impression when I read your stuff that that it means something, and it can also be funny. There can be funny moments, but they're kind of these serious undertones that anyway they really pay off when reading. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. there's like, yeah, it's weird. It's like there's a lot of like intersections of what like cartoons have to offer. Like Christoph Lane is a cartoonist like through and through, and I don't know him. I don't I haven't talked to him, but I would assume that's what he would call himself. I mean, his people are all so
Yeah.
cartooned and fun, and like I love like cartoons. I love well all those animators that I mentioned before, um, and
Yeah.
I think it's like people don't know where to put cartoons like in a mass market type of thing. It's like if it's a cartoon, it's for young people, or if it's a cartoon and
Right.
it's for adults, then it's like we're gonna really turn it up a notch. We're gonna make it like super violent, super crude, like super raunchy.
Yeah.
Like that's like adult cartoons. But it's like I don't know, like
Yeah.
there's some middle ground there, and I want to explore that. And I think Christoph does that well. Where it's just like visually
Hmm.
interesting characters with adult themes, and, human themes. Like I don't think there's a specific cut between like child themes and then adult themes. I mean, adults are dealing with all the damage that they received as kids, on the playground. Like, it's sort of just, it's all people.
Yeah. Well, and that was a big theme of Bradbury's work. Like someone asked, like, why do you write science fiction fantasy? He said, no, I write human stories,
Yeah.
right? Uh, and that just resonates so deeply with me. Hey, Wilt Kelly says, what's a good way to renew interest in creating your own character? Oh, your own original characters. Lately, burnout has been hitting pretty hard. Thanks.
Sorry to hear about the burnout, Will. I know Will too. Um,
Cool.
yeah. Renew interest. So, this doesn't happen the same for me because we're just different people and we have different situations. So, I can't speak to like people that have like a super intense job. They come home and they work on comics or something. But I think similarly, I do experience some burnout, like when I'm working in like Bill Brighton's world, and like and then I have like the comic like Joe Death, and I still am responsible for that and want to finish it, the first like story arc, and
Hmm.
it can be hard to like get back in there and feel passionate about that or client work as well. Like that switch does take a toll on like passion because you're so invested in something else, and then to remove yourself out of that and then get super passionate about the other thing, it does take time. And I think I kind of enter into um, when I am thinking about it or feeling that feeling, I kind of enter into the new project through way of enjoyment of projects similar to it. So like
Hmm.
I'm sitting here at my desk, and if I were to be like, okay, I want to draw Joe Death, and but I'm not feeling it. Like I'm feeling burnout, and I just don't see the story coming out for me on the page. I would set it aside. I wouldn't draw anything first. I would take down like Hellboy or any comic that I really like that's I've already read maybe, and just go through it again and like catch that vision for like this is fun. Like this is
Hmm.
like if I'm not doing something at least similar to this quality or even trying to hit it, then like I just need to go to bed or like just not right now. Like that, I think that passion does have to come, um, and you can. I think you can make the passion come. That interest, um, and then like yeah, I don't know, maybe getting to know the character too, like uh, character studies, expression. sheets, like just drawing the character. And writing actually helps a lot. I think if you're just drawing character designs and you're not writing, then I think there's an obvious reason for you not connecting with the character. I think if you really can, and I don't know, maybe this would be good advice for just character designers, but definitely for comic artists. If you can hear them speak and come up with dialogue in your head, that will make them feel a little bit more real, and I think more you'll feel more responsibility for the thing, the thing you've created. Um, but
Right. That's interesting. Uh, I like that. That gives us a lot to think about. I I don't want to steal. I would love to talk with you all night, but I said we go about 20, 30 minutes, and we're there. So I want to be respectful of your time. Will you just mention what you're doing with summer school on Patreon, and what if people get involved, like what's available? Because you're doing some really cool stuff. And I didn't even realize everything that was going on.
cool.
So
Yeah, I don't have a time limit tonight,
yeah,
so if you want to keep going, that's no problem for me. But what?
cool.
So um, I've always wanted to incorporate like a sharing aspect to me as an artist, as someone who's growing. Um, so ever since I started my first website, I had a blog, and I think the first post was like sharing the influences that influenced me. Um, and that just little sharing, it just grew into like sharing, techniques, or just along the way. Like if you go through my blog, you'll see like, I mean, for people to be coming to my website. Did we freeze up? Okay. So I did want reasons for people to even show up to my website. So, along with creating images I hoped were engaging, I wanted to have actual resources for people to read and grow. And
Yeah.
like there's this weird, like, I think we all want to be accepted by the people ahead of us, the artists that we look up to. And we can forget the people that are underneath us that want to learn or that want to learn, and to them, you are the person ahead. So like ever since I started that, probably like I suppose 6 years ago, little by little, like I just incorporated that type of teaching or sharing that evolved into teaching. And even now it's like I still consider it teaching, or sorry, sharing. But several people recently have, in the university level, have reached out to me to mentor them, and also internships. So I've done like two. I've done and I'm doing kind of two official type partnerships with the university, to work with two students, but then like unofficial, like
Cool.
several others. And so I was just like, I try to think like multiple uses for what I create. So if I'm creating like assignments and like challenges for this intern and this student, I was like, well, I want to share that as well with the people on Patreon, because I always feel like I need. So that's the load of content over there, like as much as I can give, because they're paying, and it takes a lot of time, but I feel very responsible to those people who are paying. Even $3, like you can get in for $3, and I don't feel bad about anyone jumping off as well. But I do like feel more and more engaged with my work, my job, when I am engaged with other people who are learning along with me. So it's been really nice to keep that going, and not forget that I'm just alone. It's a lonely cartoonist just just alone. Um, but yeah, that's my Patreon, and I do you do have access to all of the issues of Jed that I have done, which are 3 right now, and I'm working on the 4th. Um, and it is also a
Yeah.
documentary of like how I do it. So I'll share as much as I can about drawing characters, coloring comics, um, just a lot of whatever I am doing that I think would be a nice um, thing to share. And really, like I feel like the main thing is that people get access to me, and anyone
Yeah.
who wants to talk to me or ask me anything, like I'm always open, and I usually always respond. I don't know too many people that I've just ignored completely. Um, I'm sure I have though, and like not that many people do. Like, which that's okay. I'm not bitter, but people have, yeah. So anyway,
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, you're doing the summer school and kind of giving assignments. Like one thing that never ceases to amaze me is how much we all need and well, I was going to say yeah, crave, but really we need permission to pursue these creative interests and really almost any interest. Like, and whether we get that permission from someone like yourself that I and others look up to, um, or if it's just through seeing your work, like there's some artists that just by seeing their work, it gives me permission because it kind of satisfies. It says like, yeah, you're on the right path. Like this thing exists, and that's kind of something you're working on, and to have that on your Patreon account and have that available as well as getting comics, as well as getting like your thought process and your character design and your writing and what worked and what didn't work. I mean, that's invaluable. So I think that's really cool you're doing that.
cool. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like feeling some permission. I mean, that definitely helped. I definitely felt that when I read like Mike Mignola's comics and um,
Yeah.
Werwick Johnson Cadwell, um, and
Yeah.
Andrew McLean, and it was like these guys are having fun. Like, they're giving me permission to draw however I want, and like yeah, like there was like a lot of time where I was trying to draw like Mike Mignola, like I think most people try, and then it
Yeah.
was just like a disaster, and it was like that's not what he's offering me. Like he's not offering me a style to follow. He's offering me kind of the permission to make my own thing. Like he's constantly like telling people that like make your own thing. Like and that's an example. Like Hellboy is an example of that, and
Yeah.
I think that can be missed because it's like we don't actually want that. We just want to draw like his book, and it's like it's,
Yeah.
go do your own thing. Go do
Yeah,
likewise
that's
kind of thing.
funny. Yeah. No, and that's like, I mean, I definitely went through I've got a it's weird. There aren't too many artists that I feel like I need to emulate, like most artists I can just appreciate what they do and maybe um, pick up pick up something. But usually I can just stand at a distance and just love it, just
Yeah,
relish that for
that's cool.
existing. But Mike Mignola's work, like, I went through a phase, and I think most indie comics artists do, where they're trying to draw like him, and those shapes they're addicting, and the the light and dark. It's he's really doing something unique that's easy to notice, and so you want to learn from that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
and it's cool that it's a comic book. You can pick it up for 24 pages for $4 or something, and you can learn so much about drawing, about design, composition, storytelling, writing. It's all right there on the page. It's so cool to see.
yeah, yeah. Which is uh, not even mentioning too, like Dave Stewart, like, and I don't know if he's still here in the chat, but I saw him pop up here. But
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
his colors were equally as impressive. Like, I mean, it's hard to think of them separately, but yeah, like
Yeah.
everything I know about color, like I reference that before I look at anything else. It's just such a economy
Mm.
of like everything in especially the later books. Like, um, it's real simple, real design, but there's nothing easy about it.
Yeah.
Like nothing at all. Like so many people
Right.
have been dashed on the shores of that mountain there. I think.
For sure. Yeah, that's funny. Like that. Yeah, just seeing the color there, Dave Stewart's colors, like just kind of revealed to me that color is a language in and of itself, which I knew from like fine art,
Yeah.
but seeing it in comics was just revelatory. Anyway, sorry, I'll start gushing about we we're both fans. Nebland says, when will Joe Death be published? Oh boy. And would you like to see part of Joe Death written by another artist?
Uh, yeah, I don't mind answering that question. Um, Joe Death is not under contract right now. I am actually talking to a publisher who I would like to sign it over to, but we haven't come to an agreement quite yet. So it's always been like I always want the print book. I from a publisher. I don't want to do my own books. Like I don't want to print my own books. Um, and I think
Yeah.
can have a good home at a publisher, but that won't be for a while. I mean, I do the contract right now that I'm most focused on is the one that the publisher hired me to do, or approved my pitch. So I feel the maximum amount of responsibility there. Um, so Joe will probably take a little longer, um, but oh, as far as and would you like to see part of Joe Death right by another artist, or drawn by another artist? I suppose he means written or drawn. I'll answer both. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I definitely not now. Definitely not now. That's a book that's probably not ever actually too. I can't see that being done by anyone else but me. Um, I introduced a lot of characters like throughout the book, and I think I could have like a spin-off of one character or two.
That'd be cool.
But I'm aware of that kind of expansion model, and I'm not an elitist that thinks that that's like selling out. But just right now, I can't um, wade into that, especially if I don't even have anything published yet. Like that is still weighing on me that I haven't had anything published. So besides like a small comic. But,
Yeah. That's funny too to hear you say that because it seems like your stuff is spread and maybe just because your work is so unique and stands so well on its own, but it seems like it's spread across the internet like really well and it feels like you've published quite a bit.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's how I see it at least, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much like I think everyone is very limited in the amount of like um, things that we can do or comprehend, and like I think a lot. I mentioned that to say that people get pretty myopic in the success of like social media, and not mention. I'm not. I hope that's not insulting to you or anyone else. They think that I'm doing a lot of work, uh, but for me, I do realize that I I'm all for print. Like I love books. I love books. Um, I love books. Like I can't say that enough. Like, and so if it wasn't printed, like it doesn't exist almost. Like to me, like it. And that's
Uh-huh.
that's a little a little too far. I mean, it does exist, and I am proud of like the work so far.
Right.
But but I think this could be a long kind of rabbit trail following, but I do consider being at a publisher kind of like the big time, like, and it's something that I've really wanted ever since I started even thinking about comics, and this was like 6 years ago. And I spent a lot of time listening to indie creators talk on social media and like YouTube, and just like years of listening and kind of trying my own stuff. And I've printed like several little things, and I was never satisfied by that. And even the numbers that sell for a successful Kickstarter or like Indiegogo or something, they're so small compared to the
Yeah.
big books that you see in stores everywhere. And so it's
Yeah.
like I realize that's a way to go, and I respect that a lot. But I was thinking, like, I don't want to warehouse books. I don't want to deal with shipping costs and all of this stuff, because I know I'm gonna screw myself. Um, and it's so much work that isn't making comics. And so I was like,
Yeah. Right.
if I am the guy that can make a pitch and sell to a publisher, I should try that first. And
Hmm.
it that took work, even trying to like create an elevator pitch or a log line or something. Is something I really had to learn and invest in. And so like I kind of went that direction. And if I heard crickets, like which I did kind of, and so I just started with Joe Death, and that's just going. And so that was sort of my love letter to indie comics itself, on Patreon. But yeah. I don't know if that did that answer anything, or was that who was talking? Yeah, I do a lot of work.
No, that was asking about publishing and other people maybe having a part in the creation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
That's great. Yeah, and I'm with you as far as the more time spent writing and drawing and the less time doing all the other
yeah.
stuff, let's make it happen.
I know. It's like everything is a full-time job. If you expect to make a full-time
Yeah.
wage, you better expect to make a full-time career of work like toward it. Like I mean I had the indie fever like all the time. Like, oh, I want to start a clothing company. Like I want to do like merchandise, and like I did shirts, and like I started sort of making a brand for like apparel and stuff, tchotchkes in bookstores. They were like super book
Oh,
themed,
cool.
and I was like, this is. I felt proud about it. I still feel proud about it, but I was like, I'm aware of like a t-shirt company in Greenville, South Carolina, and like they have employees. Like they also screen print their shirts. Like it's a huge pipeline to make any waves, and like that. If I went down that path, like I wouldn't be doing comics. Like I would have to invest like all of my time into that. Um, and like,
Right.
yeah, it's like we're so limited. Like people are so limited, um, to what we can do
Yeah,
well, I think.
for sure. Yeah. Do you mind me asking and then I think
Okay.
my family needs me. This
Yeah.
is a little I'm sorry because I would love to keep talking, but
No,
is
no
there
problem.
something you're reading now or that you read recently, what comics or otherwise, that maybe you've been excited about or
Yeah.
you might recommend? Yeah.
The stuff I'm reading. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I recommend Pinocchio. Um, I
Yeah.
recommend you read Pinocchio while you watch Fire Festival on Netflix. Read those at
Okay.
Yeah, do it at the same time. You're gonna see some really
Okay.
interesting parallels to what what's
Ah,
happening. Yeah. I won't say anymore.
okay.
I think if people want to do that, they should and feel the surprise. Um,
Huh.
Also, A Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde is an
Yeah.
incredible book, and like it's all about influence and the power of youth, or the drawbacks to youth. And I think that's also like read that as well as watching like Fire Festival, like the influencer culture, like there's some rock bottom wisdom in A Picture of Dorian Gray and Pinocchio, and they're entertaining. It's like I love it. I love those two books. I could mention a lot more, but
No, that's Fire Festival. That's new to me. I mean, it sounds like you're saying, throw on, Led Zeppelin while watching Wizard of Oz. So I'm excited to see what this is
yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah. We can
Uh,
totally talk more about it.
really.
I mean, I could explain too on a follow up episode if we want to do that. Maybe it's just me. No, I see a lot of parallels between sort of
Huh.
the picture the journey of a young person in Pinocchio, and also in A Picture of Dorian Gray, and like the the youth of today, which I include myself in. I mean, I think there's a lot of crazy stuff that like happens because of it's not because of technology. Like I think this is the funniest thing. Like where people start talking about like the responsibility of technology, and it's like we're all people.
Mm.
Like we're all people. I really believe like we're responsible for our actions, and and we do have power to move our course um, in the choices that we choose. Um, yeah. So anyway,
A- Amen. I'm with you. That's a theme I keep coming back to in my own life is just man, in any circumstances I have a choice, and to see that played out in different stories really draws you toward the character and endears you toward them, depending on what kinds of choices they make.
yeah,
So okay, well, I'm gonna find this Fire Festival. I'm gonna pull out my Pinocchio and Dorian Gray and see what
nice, cool. I'm
happens.
excited to hear. All right, so good to
Cool.
talk to you.
Ben, thank you so much for taking the time to share your thoughts and your talents with us. It means a lot to me.
Oh, thanks for giving.
I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you for giving me the space. It was really fun. Anytime. Talk later.
For sure. Yeah. Um, I was just thinking like instead of like it's easy to sorry, that would have been a good out and I keep rambling. I was just thinking like it'd be so easy to, tap all the hearts on all your images, and it'd be easy to like throw down a comment, but but really like I feel like your work offers so much more, and you already make your own videos and you have content, available, but I appreciate you working so that I could share maybe a unique way of celebrating you and your work. So anyway,
Oh,
I
thanks. Yeah.
appreciate
Well, you've started the goodbye again, so I have to say something.
it. Yes, sir.
I mean, this is gonna sound cheesy, but like in the same way, like podcasters and people that do interviews, like this is a public service. Like um, the majority of what I know now was after college, based on interviews and guys like you, like guys and women like you, who have just
Yeah.
invested time to do this. It's difficult and it's not easy, and it takes time, and um, I'm always listening to stuff like whenever I'm working. So this is like
Yeah.
adding to the catalog of I think good content that people who want to learn and grow can you know can sip on for years. So thank you.
Cool. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I hope so. I hope that's what's happening, and there's been a good response, and you've had a really cool turnout and people asking questions. So this has
Yeah,
been great. Uh, Yeah, thank you so much. I'm gonna call it unless you have anything else to add.
Done. Thank you. Take care.
Cool.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everyone.
Have a good one. See ya.